Hey Jake, would you ever fight 6ix9ine?
No.
He said he'd fight you, and to set it up.
Get the fucking rat traps.
Jake Paul has been the talk of the boxing world for both good and bad reasons over the last 8 months or so, after his boxing career exploded after he had a highly visible match at the Mike Tyson return event. People have been curious about what he would do next. Well, the answer was the controversial fight against former UFC fighter Ben Askren, that he did defeat in the first round, again by a controversial knockout. And as for who he has in mind next for his fights, well, that's the question, isn't it? So allow us to show you how Jake Paul officially released the details on his next opponent. Be sure to like the video and subscribe to the channel. Number 4, Floyd Mayweather. If you're looking for someone whom many people think that Jake Paul will go up against in the boxing ring, that would likely be Floyd Mayweather, and they already have some heat and story building up towards exactly that. Jake's second match in the boxing ring was against Nate Robinson, former NBA player and friend to Floyd, so the thought is that Floyd will crush Logan, then go after Jake. This was solidified in certain people's minds by the news event incident for the boxing match that is happening soon between Floyd Mayweather and Logan Paul. In said press event, Jake got in Floyd's face and took his hat and caused a big brawl, one that absolutely blew up the internet when it happened. Jake told Chael Sonnen on the You're Welcome podcast that even for him, the scene was somewhat surreal. It was sort of a sensory overload with everything that was going on, Paul said. There was like 8 guys around me, all grabbing me, some hitting me in the leg. I'm holding on to his hat for dear life. I was like, no, I'm not letting go. And that was the main thing that they were concerned about. Like, give us the fucking hat. Give us the hat. And I was like, no. Then they finally got the hat, and then I see this angry Floyd Mayweather. I couldn't believe it. One of his security guards had my shirt wrapped around his hand so I couldn't get away. And he just comes running at me and he's throwing punches over the security guard. I'm literally like, oh wow, this is crazy. But the funny thing about it was none of those punches were even coming close to me at that point, and he actually punched his own security guard in the side of the head. Absurd moment, hilarious. I didn't think he was going to get that mad over a hat. A lot of people looked at that fight and wondered if it was an actual brawl or a staged one. The Paul brothers state that it was real and that no one knew it was going to happen like it did. Look, it's show business, Paul said. I didn't think it was going to go that viral. I thought it was going to be like, this is funny. Jake Paul's an amateur little kid, which, by the way, that's what I was going for. I was like, this is going to be hilarious. I'm going to be like a little kid stealing someone's hat on the playground. And they are continuing to hype up their degrees in the boxing ring, saying that without them, boxing wouldn't be as big as it is right now. MMA was kicking boxing's ass, Logan Paul told CBS Sports during an interview with Showtime cameras during training camp. Now everyone is interested in boxing. The model is being replicated time and time again. You got Triller now, you got Social Gloves, and just a weekend after our fight, there's TikTokers and YouTubers fighting. Jake just got to deal with Showtime, and what fucking point is it legit? Wake up and smell the coffee. We are here, and we are here to stay. Well, now that may be true, but the idea of opponents is still on the table, and if it's not Floyd Mayweather, many are going to ask, then who? Number 3, Chuck Liddell. One of the things that Jake Paul has been running his mouth about is how he gets paid more in one fight than most UFC fighters do in several, and he has butted heads back and forth with Dana White about getting some of his fighters into a boxing ring in order to show how tough he is. Dana has refused this time and time again, but that doesn't stop fighters who aren't with the UFC anymore from fighting against him. And one name that popped up was UFC legend Chuck the Iceman Liddell. The former UFC light heavyweight champion was asked about Paul during a recent interview with TMZ. He's not good enough to fight me, Liddell said. It just doesn't make sense for him. None of it makes sense for this guy. He's going to risk getting hurt like that? While it doesn't seem that Liddell is all that interested in getting back to competition, he's not completely locking the door if the right offer comes along. If they offer me enough money, I'm always down to fight. Jake would love this just for the prestige of it all, because if he defeats a UFC legend, even one who is well past his prime and hasn't even fought since 2018, that would be a huge feather in his cap. Or he could go get the celebrity angle and fight number 2, 6ix9ine. Yes, the infamous rapper who just can't keep his mouth shut at all called out Jake Paul and said that he would go and fight him in the boxing ring and that Jake should set it up. Naturally, Jake wasn't going to take this lying down and did a TikTok video noting at first that he wouldn't fight 6ix9ine until his friend noted that 6ix9ine really did challenge him, and so Jake Paul pulled out a doctor's glove and noted, "Get the fucking rat traps," a reference to how 6ix9ine is a snitch in the world of rap and isn't to be trusted. To be clear, Jake has a motivation to go and fight 6ix9ine. "I want to because he deserves to get his ass beat, and I want to do it for all the people he's disrespected," wrote Paul in a post online. But honestly, it would be too easy in a 30-second fight. He wouldn't show up in the ring on the day of the fight, but yes, I would love to knock him out. As for 6ix9ine, he's already trying to make waves by calling out Jake as fake in terms of how he got jacked. 6ix9ine wrote, "I think he's on steroids, like his security guard who passed away," at Jake Paul. Now this match would be more about hype than the actual matchup, but that doesn't mean that it can't happen. It just means that both sides would have to go and agree to make it happen, and that might not happen. Number 1. Tyron Woodley? Jake Paul's words about boxing and the UFC as a whole have rubbed a lot of people the wrong way, not the least of which is certain UFC stars who are actual fighters and fighting real opponents without potential rigging. See Paul's match with Askren. Tyron Woodley, for example, is someone who has been calling out Paul for a while now due to his words and antics, and even got in some backstage scuffles with him and his entourage not too long ago. And Woodley has some choice words for Paul. Jake Paul is, well, I guess we kind of recognize he came from Disney. We expect him to be this little fucking macho man that he's playing, Woodley told TMZ. But he keeps calling out everybody but me. I'm the one with the real smoke with you. They just culture vultures, like he'll volt the juice from his own damn flesh and blood. He went on. "Come and get this smoke for real," Woodley said. "I'm in and I can actually find him. People that keep talking about fighting him, they're not even in position to fight him. I can actually fight him. I can fight him tomorrow if I want to. If Jake dropped his ball sack out of his stomach and signed the deal, then I think Floyd would be happy that I'd be the one to knock his fucking head off. We're sure some people would love to see that." So what do you think? What do you think of this look at the opponents that Jake Paul might be going up against in the near future, and the ones who are fine not getting into the boxing ring with Jake Paul? Who would you personally like to see Jake Paul fight in the boxing ring? Do you think that the clash with Floyd Mayweather is the next thing, or is that going to be built up more over time? Let us know in the comments below. Be sure to subscribe, and we will see you next time on the channel.